critical component number 1 of 7, and this one is this. Must be a new business model for the new economy. Critical component number 1 must be a new business model for the new economy. You must have a new business model for the new economy. Folks, old and more of the same won't work anymore and has left many in the dust. And what we see day in and day out is so many people, probably 95% of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs out there are using old economy strategies to make money in the new economy, and they don't even know it yet, but their bank account shows it. Aaron, you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about this. If you just take a look around you, look at what people are exposed to right now with traditional media. You know, what's on people's minds has changed. People's buying habits have changed. And as a result, I think the best way to sum this up, Andrew, is that we have to accept the fact that what got us here will not get us there. It's a new world. It's a new marketplace. And there are new ways of making money and a new business model that is allowing people to finally reach the new levels of personal and financial success that they could have never been able to achieve using the old models of yesterday.
Yeah, it's so true. And, what we like to say a lot of times, and we'll mention that a lot on this call, is a lot of people don't even realize the depth and breadth and wealth being created as a result of online businesses that are popping up. But obviously there has to be a lot more to it than just a storefront or a website. So let's go to critical component number 2, because this one is a biggie. And we know for a fact that this will resonate with just about everybody on this call. And critical component number 2 is this. It must not be a traditional MLM or multi-level marketing business model. Again, it must not be a traditional multi-level marketing business model. Now, we know a lot of you on this call are probably in multi-level marketing, and we've come from that industry. We understand the model in and out, Aaron more so than me, and he'll talk about that in a second. But why many people are failing and not making the money that they want to make right now is because that's a business model that's essentially broken at this point to some degree. That's a business model that is very well designed for the company, but a very poor economic model for the distributor or the consultant. We'll talk about why that is in a couple seconds. But for many, they think that that's all there is. They think that they either get a job or they jump in a multi-level marketing business model where they're selling vitamins or lotions, potions, pills, or telecom service to their friends and family. And folks, that's not a business. That's more of a hobby. And the reason that most people fail and don't make it and have a bad taste in their mouth is because they haven't really bought into a business. They've bought into a hobby. And hobbies don't make you wealthy. And, Aaron, I know you have a ton of experience in this industry. You've done well in that industry, but you certainly did it at a time where it wasn't comfortable doing so, and it was a rat race, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, first of all, you hit the nail right on the head. You have to ask yourself, Andrew, the company has you as a distributor in multi-level marketing, but who do you have? And because of the way our marketplace is today, the way the world is, our economy, the financial landscape, what's happened is that, number one, the Internet's made it extremely difficult to grow a traditional business when there's new ways of building. In other words, to make a list of family and friends and cold call leads and do home parties and hotel events, people are at home in front of their computers and looking for ways of making money on the Internet. So traditional multi-level marketing has there's a barrier right up, at the front door there just getting started. But I think what we have to look at is, there's so much competition in the marketplace, especially if you're selling tangible products. And I know we're going to get more into detail on this in just a little bit, but, we're competing with a marketplace that people are cutting the costs and they're looking to cut back on their own expenses. And so the products that are marketed through traditional multi-level marketing, they fall into that category of highly competitive. And at the same time, if you look at the pricing structure on most of these products in multi-level marketing, what you're doing is you're splitting commissions with, a half dozen to a dozen people on a price margin that's built off of, say, a $30 bottle of jungle juice or a weight loss supplement or even something as inexpensive, say, as a legal service. There's not a lot of profitability in that model, especially when you think about this. You're depending on the success of other people to be successful yourself, and that is a very difficult model in today's marketplace, Andrew.
It's a great point you just made. Very disempowering. very disempowering, and not to mention the pricing structure you mentioned. I always say, you're in a commodity-driven marketplace. If you're a distributor, we're not knocking you. We've been there and done that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be making these comments. But if you're a distributor and you're selling a tangible product, whether it be a lotion, potion, pill, a juice product, or maybe a telecom product or a vacation-type product, we've seen them all. You're in a commodity-driven marketplace, which means you're price-driven, and people will shop you to death. Not to mention you're competing with 800-pound gorillas. You're competing with the Verizons of the world. You're competing with Whole Foods and GNC. Where people can walk in and pretty much get what they can get from you right on the shelves. And it's very, very, very frustrating. And we've come from that model, and we've really fixed that problem quite a bit. And we've taken a lot of what we call old school MLM-type distributors, and we've literally quadrupled their income. Aaron, you're proof in the pudding. I think you were probably a six-figure earner in that industry, barely. But now you're a multiple six and even a seven-figure earner here, so that's like a clean quadruple. So yeah. Let's go on to critical component number 3. And this one is, it must not be about getting rich yet. Let me say that again. This is surprising to many. Critical component number 3, it must not be about getting rich yet. Now, wanting to get rich is okay, but really this is about showing you how to build a foundation, showing you how to make your first dollar online first. Once you do that, you control your own cash flow, and if you want to get rich after that, like many of our members here do, that you'll meet here in a little bit, that's up to you, and we'll certainly support you in this endeavor because you're of very little use to anyone around you if you are poor. But if you come out of the gates as an entrepreneur only wanting to get rich and just wanting to get rich, you'll probably never get rich, and you'll really miss some critical building blocks along the way that will position you for wealth and success later on that's so critical. So I know this flies in the face, Aaron, of a lot of people who tell you they can get you rich and they can do it overnight and it doesn't have to happen slow, and we want to have you slow down the process here a little bit. We think you can get rich fast, but we want to have you get rich and wealthy the right way and build a solid foundation. So we do things a little bit differently, Aaron, and I know this was coming from the world you come from, sort of a surprising feature as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we have to look at the fact that it's a lot easier to get rich quick than it is to get rich slow. Take your job, if you have a job as an example, you might make millions of dollars over your lifetime, but that's spread out over 30, 40, 50 years of career and profession, where here in our profession here, in our business model, what's happening is that once you learn the basics, you can get rich, but it's about the first dollar online. It's about the foundational principles. And I have to agree with you, Andrew, this critical component about, making it not about getting rich. You and I both have had thousands of conversations over the last several years here in this community, having, discussions, with everybody that comes through our front door. And what we've both discovered is that most people don't care about getting rich. What they care about is they care about having the freedom, buying back their time, having a more flexible schedule and a more open calendar. It's about developing, the choices and having more opportunities to really live their lives the way they choose to, not how they're forced to because of their job or their current situation. So, yeah, it's not about getting rich. It's about learning the basic foundational principles, learning how to leverage those principles through the business model, and then, of course, the money comes second. And I think that's what happens for most people. I know it certainly happened for myself and Sophia.
And it's shocking how many people, where money is maybe a second or a third priority when it comes to starting a business online. They want to buy back their time. They want to get out of the job. They want to be able to travel more. They may want to put their kids through a certain type of education that they couldn't afford otherwise. So there's way more driving factors besides just getting rich. So that's something you really, really, really want to be mindful of, so you're building something sustainable, solid, and real. Critical component number 4, this one will fly in the face of everything you've ever heard. Critical component number 4, you must have fear. Let me say that again. You must have fear. All we hear today is have no fear. We're telling you should have fear. I know this flies in the face of all you've heard and sounds odd, but if you don't have some fear about getting started, there probably isn't much upside potential. anyone who ever achieved anything significant or any success in life started off with a great deal of fear about the thing they were about to do. So if you fear getting started, or you fear a new business model, or doing things a different way, that's a great sign that you're going down the right path, because fear is the precursor to growth, financial growth, personal growth, whatever it may be. So if you have fear and you're not sure if you can do something, or you're not sure if you can get started, that's a really good sign again. And Aaron, I know you agree, because, again, we speak to a lot of members from around the world where this is usually the biggest roadblock, but it doesn't have to be. It should be a good sign.
Yeah, and that's true. You know, the absence of fear in anything that we do, it says that we're in our comfort zone. And when you look at it, when you really break it down, ladies and gentlemen, your comfort zone is your failure zone. In other words, it'd be a lot easier for you to just, you know, sit around on the couch and watch television in the evening. And, you know, you're here for a reason. You're listening to this call because you're obviously seeking greater change in your life, and you're looking for a vehicle, you're looking for a community, you're looking for an association with people that have already achieved the kind of results that you're looking for. And, you know, with that comes fear. It's part of the process. And, you know, I think that the best way to really sum this up is that, you know, Andrew says, if you're not feeling fear, then there's really probably nothing worth here for you anyway. In other words, nothing really here that you should be committed to, because it's easier to do, it's easy to do, should I say, but it's easier not to do. So with any new endeavor is definitely going to come some fear, and it's normal. And if you think about this, you know, think about, you know, your first day on the job. Let's just say your first day in your current job, or maybe your first job. You know, your knowledge was high, or you should say your enthusiasm was high, but your knowledge was low. And the second day, you got a little bit more knowledge, and the third day, you got a little bit more knowledge, and before you knew it, you would show up for work and you'd perform your job duties, and you wouldn't even have to think about it. It's like getting in your car. And, you know, when you first got started driving, you used to have to think about the steering wheel. You had to think about the gas and the brake, and maybe if you drove a 5-speed, the clutch and the stick shift. Now, today, years later, you get into your car, you could turn on your stereo, you could be talking on the cell phone, you know, eating a cheeseburger, and you wind up in some place that you were supposed to be, and you have absolutely no idea how you got there. Well, that came because you felt the fear, and you did it anyway, and you learned the skill sets and how to actually drive that car. Well, it's the same concept here. You're going to feel some fear, and it's going to be natural for you, and you're going to learn to overcome those fears. And as you get more skillful and as you learn more knowledge here, you're going to notice that your fear subsides. And then that's where you start getting results, Andrew.
I think there's a book out that's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways, if I'm not mistaken. I love that statement. But we're going to introduce you to a few people who shared this exact same fear in a little while later on in the call. And at one point, you know, they were on a call like this, probably had a lot of the same thoughts of whether this was for them or not. And frankly, now they're living life on their terms, not on someone else's terms. And it's easier than you might think if you have a blueprint. Most don't. You will here tonight. Let's go to critical component number 5. This is a biggie. We're going to spend some time on this one. It must be an information-based product. Let me say that again. Critical component number 5. It must be an information-based product. Folks, we're in the information age. We're not in the tangible product age. Tangible products are a commodity, and like we said earlier, it's a price war. We are in the age of intellectual property, education, information. We call it the new invisible franchise, where information is the new currency. Again, it's old economy versus new economy, versus the new economy, and we think information is the new currency. Information is the new gold standard, and if your product or service isn't information or education-based, then guess what? It's also not copyright protected, which means anybody can come along and knock that product off and create the same one at a lower price next week in their garage. We see this happen all the time, usually with nutrition products in the MLM industry, Aaron, where you come from. I see it happen like weekly at this point, because no one has a patent on anything really, and nobody has a product that can't be copied or duplicated. Information and education can't be copied or duplicated because it's copyright protected. That's huge.
Yeah, intellectual property, and that, again, there's no competition when it comes to intellectual property. But I want to add something to that, Andrew, because being the fact that, we've got to be in an information-based product with our business model, this is really important to understand. If you look back at the history, at least in our economy here in America, probably the world economy, this is safe to say. You know, we used to be an agricultural society. You either worked for a farm or you raised animals or crops, or you did something around the agricultural lifestyle that this world used to really center around. And then we turned to the industrial industry back in the early 1900s through the mid 1900s, where steel was